A strange thing happens when you become an adult and start paying attention to how people communicate. You begin to notice patterns that were invisible when you were a child. A phone call that never comes back, a message that goes unanswered for weeks, conversations that always seem to drift back toward the parents' needs, the parents' problems, the parents' view of the world. At some point you realize that the relationship you thought was permanent is actually being held together by a very thin thread. And sometimes that thread is just habit. Growing up, most people are taught that family relationships are unconditional. Blood is supposed to mean loyalty. Parents are supposed to care about their children in a way that transcends ordinary social bonds. But adulthood complicates that story. Many adults discover that family relationships behave like any other relationship. They survive only if both sides participate. Without communication, they slowly disappear. This realization can be especially stark for people raised by emotionally neglectful or narcissistic parents. Psychology has long studied this dynamic, particularly through ideas like attachment theory and research on narcissistic personality disorder. Children growing up in those environments often learn an unusual survival strategy: radical independence. If emotional support is inconsistent or conditional, the child adapts. Instead of relying on others, they begin relying almost entirely on themselves. Over time, the lesson becomes internalized. If something needs to be done, do it alone. From the outside, this can look like strength. Hyper-independent people often become capable adults. They build careers, manage responsibilities, and rarely ask for help. But the independence usually comes from a deeper conclusion learned early in life. No one else is coming to rescue you. When those children grow up and begin building their own lives, the relationship with their parents can shift in unexpected ways. Autonomy threatens systems built on control. Parents who unconsciously relied on their children for validation or emotional supply may react poorly when those children become independent adults. Instead of pride, the response can be criticism, distance, or resentment. Sometimes the child's independence feels like rejection. At other times, the parent simply withdraws when the relationship no longer provides the emotional benefits it once did. Adult children often describe a moment when the psychology of the situation suddenly becomes visible. Watching how their parents interact with others, handle criticism, or avoid self-reflection can bring a kind of clarity that didn't exist during childhood. Questions start to emerge. Do these people have any interest in personal growth? Do they care about the emotional well-being of their children? Or were children always serving another purpose: status, validation, identity? These questions can be uncomfortable because they challenge one of society's most durable myths, that all parents are fundamentally nurturing. The reality is more complicated. Some parents simply lack the emotional tools required for deep empathy. Others repeat patterns passed down through generations without ever examining them. Family dysfunction, like culture itself, can persist across decades. Habits of emotional neglect, manipulation, or distance quietly reproduce themselves unless someone recognizes the pattern and interrupts it. That interruption often looks like independence. Adult children begin building lives that are less entangled with the emotional habits of their upbringing. They focus on their own health, stability, relationships, and environments. This isn't always an act of rebellion. Often it's simply an act of clarity. Eventually, many people arrive at a quieter, less dramatic understanding of family. Family is not just a biological fact. It is a relationship sustained by communication, attention, and care. Without those things, even blood ties can slowly dissolve. And sometimes the most meaningful form of growth is recognizing that the future does not have to repeat the past.